Streaming worldwide, this is the Gospel America Television Network. The Gospel America Television Network remembers Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's time for Real Talk with the Jenkins, featuring Lady MJ, Pastor Marcella Jenkins, and Dr. G, Dr. Gary Jenkins. And now, let's join Real Talk with the Jenkins. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk with the Jenkins. I'm Dr. G.
I'm Lady MJ.
And we are the Jenkins. Now, Lady MJ, we're dedicating this broadcast to the memory of slain civil rights leader, the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we're so honored to be able to celebrate the life of this man and all that he contributed to the freedom and the equal rights of everyone in America. What do you think about that?
It's a great celebration, and he did a lot and deserves to be celebrated.
Oh, man. You know, when I think about Dr. King, and I was just a young guy. He was slain in 1968. So let's see, I was a senior in high school. And I remember vividly where I was at the time of his death. But I don't want to really stay focused on his death. I want to focus on what he's done to help bring people together, black and white and others, to bring people together to help us have a better quality of life and access to equal treatment under the law.
Yes. And I like his motto that he didn't want to treat evil with evil.
Mm-hmm.
And he strived to bring peace between races.
Yeah.
Amen. It didn't matter who you were. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, or if you were male or female, fat or small. You still should be at peace. Don't fight peace. Don't fight evil with evil, but fight evil with peace.
Well, he taught the art of nonviolent demonstrations,
Yes.
peaceful demonstrations. And although that was his directive in the civil rights movement, it became violent. And
Yes.
Not because of him, but because of people that didn't want to see African Americans in America have the freedoms that we enjoy today, and to be able to, go to the same public schools that white children went to,
Yes.
to drink something as simple as
Water.
drinking water from a fountain. And see, young people today cannot relate to that because they just never were exposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's our duty, I believe that it's our duty to remind young people about our history.
Yes, definitely. History is very important so that we know where we came from, what he has accomplished. Even though he gave up his life that we could have our freedom.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of freedom, we have several people that we spoke with, and we're going to share their opinions and their thoughts with you in a moment. But you're watching Real Talk with the Jenkins. I'm Dr. G.
I'm Lady MJ.
And we are the Jenkins. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Real Talk with the Jenkins. We'll be right back after these messages. Ready for really tasty pizza with your favorite toppings? Call Trophy's Pizza at 325-947-7499 for the best takeout pizza in San Angelo. Family-owned business that loves Jesus and you. Trophy's Pizza. Call 325-947-7499. Trophy's Pizza, made with love. It tastes so good, you'll want to give them a trophy.
Ray Montgomery and his team helped me more than I could ever state.
City National Bank is committed to offering solutions for every stage of life. with the added benefits of more flexibility and faster responses with a strong connection to the people who live and work in West Texas.
Very practical reason I'd recommend banking here. They pay the best interest of anybody in town.
For more information, visit us at txcnb.bank or come see us at 2909 Sherwood Way.
The definition of an expert is a person who has comprehensive knowledge, skill, and experience in a particular field. Michelangelo was an expert in sculpting and painting. But if you're looking for an expert in transmissions, then look no further than Gray's Transmissions. So if you find yourself in need of a new transmission, you need to make sure you have someone with expertise and experience.
We should know because we're the experts.
Are you in the need for a sweet and delicious treat? Then you need to head to Awesome Donut, located at 4382 Southwest Boulevard in San Angelo. Awesome Donut features a variety of sandwiches for breakfast or lunch. We have an awesome variety of donuts, glazed, eclair, mochi, cinnamon twist, and more. Awesome Donut features bluebell ice cream, smoothies, milkshakes, and more. Awesome Donut has Bora tea, hot or cold brew coffee, and cappuccino. We're open daily, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. for our awesome customers at Awesome Donuts, 4382 Southwest Boulevard, San Angelo.
Awesome!
And now back to Real Talk with MJ and Dr. G.
Well, as we said before the break, we interviewed a couple of people here in San Angelo and asked them about their reflections on the memory of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And one of the people we spoke with is the president of the NAACP in San Angelo, Miss Shirley Spears.
He was so obedient to who he believed was the center of the universe, and that was his God. And he tried to do the things that he believed in his spirit that God had ordered him to do. And in addition to that, then, various groups and individuals became dependent on him for leadership. And they pressed on him to do things that would help benefit and lift the whole generation of African Americans during that time. And he was obedient to those causes. I remember growing up during that period, during the civil rights movement, and I remember all of the things that I would see on the TV. I'd never seen a black man on TV that much, that often, and he was always out there trying to do something to help the African Americans across the country, and particularly in the southern states. And as a girl who was living in the state of Texas, grew up in Texas, it was important to me because while we weren't experiencing some of the things that he was out there in Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia dealing with, there were several things that were just being done that were unjust and wrong, even in the state of Texas.
And Shirley had more insight on Martin Luther King's impact on America.
The first wave of this social justice reform that we experienced with integration, I think the way that we did it had a lot to do with where we are today. For instance, in the state of Texas and in other key states across the country, we're still fighting for voting rights. Why is that? We had the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965, which gave us the right to vote. And so why are we still having to deal with that today? And I think part of it is that a lot of our members of the brown and black communities have started to socialize and acculturate more into the mainstream thinking that everything that we had lost, we've already gotten back. And so we can afford to not be so concerned about some things. And so right before your very eyes, I know in the state of Texas, we had the 87th legislative session that just occurred, and we have a very strict now new voter integrity bill that really makes it more difficult for people of the brown and black communities to vote. So where we were in 65 and here we are in 2022, a lot of those ill feelings are coming back. So we've had another generation or two to rise to power, and they're basically putting back in place the things that their grandparents had in place.
Well, Lady MJ, Shirley Spears had a lot to say about Dr. King, and she was touched by his life, and she told us that as she reflected on his life, she remembered what he had to say with regard to how Dr. King believed that African Americans should be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's still very true, is that the content of a person's character is what should guide how you respond to them, your relationship with them. The fact that you're light brown or black should not be the factor, should not be what it is that people decide you're good, bad, or indifferent. And because I know that in the years of my growing up or so forth, the fact that I was dark-skinned made me less, because it was something that they compared to the slave trade, you know, from when we first came over here in 1619, or whenever you want to say that we came over here. But it should not be the deciding factor. However, because we're still trying to catch up and get our rightful place, I think that sometimes you have to give consideration to black and brown candidates and black and brown leaders who are trying to infuse into this society still with the messaging that Dr. King had. But we should all be able to be judged based on our spirit, our world inside of here, and not just because of what color we are.
You know, I looked up on Google about his accomplishments, and they listed 10 major accomplishments that he had. One was he led the Montgomery bus boycott.
Mm-hmm.
2, King was the first president of the SCLC.
That's the Southern Christian
Yeah,
Leadership Conference.
Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1957.
Mm-hmm.
3, he led the Birmingham campaign. 4, he was instrumental in organizing the Great March on Washington.
Yeah, yes, he was.
5, his speech intensified the civil rights movement. 6, King was Time Magazine's Man of the Year in 1963.
Wow.
7, he was behind African Americans getting basic civil rights. 8, he became the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes, he was.
At that time.
And you know what? I remember when the news media made, it was a major news story around the world when he received the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, and that was on October the 14th, 1964. I was still in high school.
Yep, in '64 I was in junior college. Junior high school.
9, he achieved success using nonviolent methods of protest. And 10, Martin Luther King became the symbolic leader of African Americans. From 1957 till his assassination, King traveled over 6 million miles and spoke over 2,500 times, appearing wherever there was injustice.
Amen. You know, everybody talks about the I Have a Dream speech.
Yes.
We're going to show you a clip of a very, very powerful speech that Dr. King made before he was taken away from us. Let's take a look at that.
If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
The Gospel America Television Network remembers Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Real Talk with the Jenkins will be right back after these messages. Are you in the need for a sweet and delicious treat? Then you need to head to Awesome Donut, located at 4382 Southwest Boulevard in San Angelo. Awesome Donut features a variety of sandwiches for breakfast or lunch. We have an awesome variety of donuts, glazed, eclair, mochi, cinnamon twist, and more. Awesome Donut features bluebell ice cream, smoothies, milkshakes, and more. Awesome Donut has Bora tea, hot or cold brew coffee, and cappuccino. We're open daily, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. for our awesome customers at Awesome Donuts, 4382 Southwest Boulevard, San Angelo.
Awesome!
Ray Montgomery and his team helped me more than I could ever state.
City National Bank is committed to offering solutions for every stage of life, with the added benefits of more flexibility and faster responses, with a strong connection to the people who live and work in West Texas.
Very practical reason I'd recommend banking here. They pay the best interest of anybody in town.
For more information, visit us at txcnb.bank or come see us at 2909 Sherwood Way.
The definition of an expert is a person who has comprehensive knowledge, skill, and experience in a particular field. Michelangelo was an expert in sculpting and painting. But if you're looking for an expert in transmissions, then look no further than Gray's Transmissions. So if you find yourself in need of a new transmission, you need to make sure you have someone with expertise and experience.
We should know because we're the experts.
And now back to Real Talk with MJ and Dr. G.
Well, we have with us Susie Walker, and she has some insight about Martin Luther King, how he impacted her life.
Well, Dr. King has always been a special part of our family. The first Civil Rights Act was signed in 1957, and the House agreed to the Senate amendment on my birthday, August 29, 1957, and Dwight Eisenhower, the president at that time, signed it on my sister's birthday in 1957. So my parents have always believed in equal rights, even though they were born, my father was born 1900, my mother 1919. So civil rights has always been a big part of our family. And I remember the I Have a Dream speech. It happened the day before my birthday, so I thought it was pretty cool that Dr. King waited before my birthday to give that speech so he wouldn't interfere with my birthday party. And I was 6 years old at the time, but it always stayed with me when he talked about the content of your character. That always stayed with me. So when I was in the 6th grade, I was the first African American to play first chair flute, and I was the first African American to be a majorette in our small West Texas town where Jim Crow was pretty prevalent. So civil rights has always been a part of my family. His death was very traumatic to our small town. We all mourned quite a long time after that, because a lot of our hopes and dreams that things would change just didn't. And we had to rely on our spirituality to get us through what he had taught us. We had to continue what he taught us, to act in a peaceful way, the way Jesus did. And that was what really got our family and the citizens of our town through his death. Like I said, I feel a very strong connection to him because I have a son who has a daughter born on his birthday. I also have a daughter who has a son born on his birthday. So to continue to celebrate his legacy is an honor, a privilege. With the family connection that we have, I feel that even though he said we would get there as a people, we have an individual responsibility to continue his legacy, to continue to strive upward and onward in a peaceful way. And so I will honor him again on Saturday. I will honor him again on Sunday. And I will continue to honor him throughout my days.
Well, you know, Lady MJ, there are many people that we could probably make a list of that would have meaningful tributes to pay to Dr. King. But one of the people that really impressed me is the pastor of Galilee Missionary Baptist Church here in San Angelo, the Reverend John S. Pope Jr., and he began to tell us what Dr. King meant to him.
Well, when I think about Dr. Martin Luther King, I think about him as a man for the ages. Whenever you look at a man for the ages, there is a certain time that I believe that the Lord sends a person who is going to make a change, not just for his time, but for the time that follows him. Dr. King was a man who called the people or society's morality into question. He was a man who called the issue of justice into question. And he was a man who had to sacrifice, make the greatest sacrifice of all, to bring about change, a change that was much needed. But he was not only a man that bring about change, he was a sort of a catalyst, if you will, so that it's not just him going about trying to do things on his own, but it's him forming coalitions, it's him forming partnerships, it's him forming organizations that would be able to stand up and to say, world, we need to wake up. There's something that's wrong. There's something that's wrong. And the only way to right the wrong is to take a stand for the right.
Pastor Pope, as you know, Dr. King, in his I Have a Dream speech, mentioned that we should be judged by the content of our character and not by the color of our skin. Your reaction to that?
So every generation has a level of responsibility to continue to make sure that our Constitution, when we give our Pledge of Allegiance, when we say liberty and justice for all, right? Every generation has the responsibility to make sure that that liberty and justice for all is something that is ingrained in our society, is something that everybody can take part in, is something that is not withheld from people for a variety of reasons. So in order to have the liberty and justice for all, we need to make sure that all of us stay aware. We have to not fall asleep. We cannot allow ourselves to get too comfortable in the strides that we have made, because really when you think about it, we're only 1 or 2 generations away from where we were under oppression. 1 or 2 generations, that's not much time. We're only talking 40 to 60 years away from where we were. And things can change quickly. We've seen some hints of that over the last several years. And if we're not careful, there will be even not just hints, but there will be a full-blown change that will see us losing a lot of the ground that we've gained over these last couple of generations.
Well, we want to thank you, Pastor Pope, for your awesome remarks. Actually, Lady MJ, we want to thank Ms. Shirley Spears, the president of the San Angelo NAACP. We want to thank Susie Walker, who is an advocate for helping the poor in the community, the hungry. That lady does a lot of work to help other people, and I really admire her for that.
Yes.
And we certainly want to thank Pastor John Pope for agreeing to let us interview him to give us remarks about the life of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So
yes,
go
I
ahead.
also want to just say that Martin Luther King died at the age of 39. You know, he was young.
You're watching Real Talk with the Jenkins. We want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we hope you have a wonderful Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And remember that we've got to show God's love to everybody. You're watching Real Talk with the Jenkins. I'm Dr. G.
I'm Lady MJ.
And we are the Jenkins.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
The Gospel America Television Network remembers Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Broadcasting worldwide on your favorite devices, we're the Gospel America channel, giving God the glory. Giving God the glory worldwide. You're watching the Gospel America Network.